think I understand, Doctor.
He's been looking forward to your arrival with great eagerness. I hope there'll never be any occasion for you to be separated from him again. Come with me, please.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Joy of Pixels podcast for Friday, September 4th, 2020. I am joined with a recovering Akko Sambo. How are you doing, Akko?
I'm on the upswing. I survived the Rona scare, but now slowly but surely doing better.
Had a little bit of a scare. Thought you might be a little sick. Well, you were sick, just not
I
coronavirus sick.
Yeah. got all the other diseases, but not that one. So knock on wood, so far no Rona.
Yeah,
it's not fun to get your brains poked by swabs.
Did they do the one that goes like really far back?
Yeah.
And do they? Do you guys have the other kind of test that just like you do it yourself?
No, I think here it has to be done by a doctor, but
Okay.
I'm not too sure. But I'm pretty sure here it has to be done by a doctor.
Yeah,
or like medical personnel.
Right. Well, I'm sorry. I don't ever want to have that done. I'm very thankful that we have the self test here that like you can just go through a drive-through and just do it yourself, and you don't have to scratch your brain. Just stick it in your nose a little bit.
I wonder how accurate they are then. Like if people do it themselves, like obviously you don't want to have it. So are people really as diligent as they should be with it?
Supposedly they watch you and make sure that you're going far enough back, but I don't know. I still don't want to even do that if I don't have to.
Yeah, I mean that lady that poked my brain, like she was like working deep inside there, and like for a good 10 seconds, exploring my nostrils. So,
well, I'm glad it's negative. I'm glad you're feeling a little better. I guess on the bright side, you had some time to play some games, right?
I sure did. Yeah, I did play some games.
Well, let's jump on in. Let's talk about what we've been playing. What you been playing?
So first of all, I continued my journey through the Call of Duty franchise by skipping Modern Warfare 2 entirely. I started it up and I was like, no, I can't.
Just can't do it.
Especially after I heard that like it won't get better.
Yeah,
like that was basically what I had to expect, and various minor differences in the other Modern Warfare game. I stayed away from that and jumped into Call of Duty World War II, and I have to say, I really like it.
Nice.
That is pretty much the experience that I had hoped from getting out of Modern Warfare. Obviously nothing too deep, but a good action story. Way more interesting levels and level design, in my opinion. Better action sequences, obviously also heavily scripted, but that is par for the course. And on top of that, just at least an attempt to make me feel interested in the people around me.
I do. Yeah, I feel like they did a better job at trying to make you kind of care about the people that you're with, and kind of drive home the like band of brothers storyline a little bit more.
Yeah, it is closer to what the original Call of Duty did in the campaign, and it has some interesting gameplay mechanics as well. Not sure if you remember, but when you're with your squad around, like they all have different abilities. So one guy is the medic, and you can every now and then, like his meter fills up and you can ask him for a med pack, because you also don't have automatic health recovery. You actually have a health bar in 2017. A health bar in a shooter. Can you believe it? And I like it. It adds some additional tension, at least for me, that you have to be a little bit resource managing. And then every now and then you ask for the first aid kit, and the other guy you ask for ammunition, and another guy has, I think, some artillery strikes, and one gives you grenades, and another one gives you binoculars that are completely useless, but I guess he contributes too. But I really like that.
I'm trying to remember, do they have like health packs just lying on the ground that you pick up?
Also, yeah.
Okay.
There are also different points, but especially in firefights, you're kind of hunkered down in certain position. It's not as
Yeah.
easy to just run and gun, I feel, as it was in Modern Warfare, especially with the ability to auto generate after time. So you kind of have to be a little more strategic when you progress through the levels. And when you're low on health, like it's either you die or you need that health pack. So it's a good mechanic. It works well. Nothing crazy, obviously, but I think it adds a little bit, almost like an old school charm to it, that you have a health bar again, because like most shooters don't have that anymore for quite a long time. And
Well,
in it,
I don't know about that. I would say there's quite a few shooters that do have health bars. I think it's just Call of Duty that doesn't have health
but
bars
Mass Effect
anymore.
adopted that as well. Like they also had the automatic health regen, and
Yeah,
there's
it
like,
was, I guess, kind of a little bit of a changing of the guard kind of thing
yeah,
that a lot of games started to not have health bars. I guess you're right. I'm just thinking of like Doom. Like Doom definitely has health, but I mean at the same time, Doom kind of tries to go back to the old school nature of a shooter. Um, what are some other shooters?
I mean, Star Wars Battlefront doesn't, that's for sure. Battlefield doesn't, pretty sure as well. At least from the little bit that I've seen. So
Does Battlefield not? I thought Battlefield
don't think
might.
so. I don't think so anymore. But
Yeah, I can't remember.
maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe I'm also wrong. But I felt like it's it's refreshing to have that. It fits the gameplay, and I have to say, I'm now quite a few missions in. It's also structured in a way where you select each mission after another, and get a little bit of story in between, and have a little bit of cutscenes that tell you about the people around you and what your mission is and what you're going to do. That adds a little more to the purpose. I think that it was one of the issues, especially in retrospect, that I had with Modern Warfare, is that you had your mission, free this, do that, and then this cutscene, loading screen, and then you're in the next mission, and it was just like, oh yeah, here's the next target to shoot. Whereas here they give you a little bit more of a purpose and like surround of what's going on around you, and where is the war standing right now and what's going on. So I enjoy that. And during the missions, there's also like pretty much each mission that you select, there's like a new or special gameplay aspect to it. There's one where you're on a church tower and you have like a sniper segment doing that. There's one where you drive with a car through a war zone, and so there are different aspects like that that are quite fun. There's also a very stealthy mission where you infiltrate a Nazi building and are undercover for a while. So they really got a little more creative
Oh,
with
I
that. And
forgot about that. Yeah, and
yeah,
you have like enemy detectors or detection meters and that kind of stuff, don't you?
yeah, exactly. And you have like a backstory, and you're asked a couple of times about it, and you have to remember that. Nothing too crazy. It's nothing revolutionary, but I feel like there's at least an effort there to make it a little more of an actual story to it.
Yeah. It's weird because I remember liking that game and enjoying it, but at the same time I do not remember anything about that game other than like the opening sequence. Um I don't know why. It just I played through it, I enjoyed it, and then it's just like I just forgot it. Um
Hmm.
so I need to play it again. I need to go through the single player again because I definitely do remember enjoying it. But
Yeah, I think it's quite fun.
I think I think it was a big risk for them to kind of stray away from what they had been doing. They they literally just kept going farther and farther into the future. So I don't know. Maybe it wasn't that big of a risk because it's like, how far into the future can you go? I think they
Yeah.
were like 200 years into the future or something like that in Infinite Warfare. Or
We have to
wait,
go back.
Infinite Warfare. I can't remember what the newest one. Yeah, so I remember that was a big story when it came out that they were going to go back to World War II, And I feel like they were kind of just playing off of Battlefield as well, because Battlefield had gone to World War One, and then they
Yeah.
were going to World War Two, and then the next Battlefield went to World War Two. So they were like kind of trying to bring this resurgence of the World War Two shooter genre back, because I mean that
Yeah.
was just huge in like the mid 2000s. That's just, every game was a
All that was, yeah.
World War Two shooter.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it really took off like they were thinking it would. I think people are still just a little, not really burned out on it, but just like, I don't know. It's kind of the same thing with me. Like, I enjoyed it, I played through it, but I didn't really feel like I wanted another World War Two shooter after that. I feel like so much of the problem is it seems like they just always do the exact same thing. Like, you're always starting out landing on a beach. You always have the segment where you're clearing out the bunkers and, tossing grenades in and clearing out the Nazis and that kind of stuff. It's like there's only so much you can do. But at the same time, it's like they never really handle like the war in the Pacific, or like the war with Japan or anything like that.
I mean, you could just start at Pearl Harbor, for example, if you
Yeah.
still want a U.S. perspective.
I don't
Like,
think they've
just
ever
start
done
there.
anything with Pearl Harbor, which is just bizarre to me. It's
Yeah.
like it's always the exact same story. And there were so many other things that
Yeah, you
happens
could
in
go
World War
over
II, or just
And
like,
also, you
dude.
don't have to play as a U.S. soldier. Like,
And
you
that's
can
what I was
play a
just about to say.
resistance,
Yeah,
soldier in North Africa or
yeah.
Scandinavia
And
or whatever.
the original Call of Duty, you probably remember this, did that. Like, you would actually play as
Yeah.
the Russians, you would play as the British, and I mean, there's like that iconic, I think it's Call of Duty 2 part where you storm Stalingrad and you're given like a rifle, but you're not giving any ammo or anything like that.
I think it's one. I think
Is it
it's,
one?
Call of Duty 1, yeah.
It's funny, but also terrible, because I mean that probably happens.
Yeah.
They just like gave you a rifle and like, good luck. Just find some
Oh.
ammo on some dead guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably actually very realistic.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. You found your Call of Duty
I think for me
niche.
as well. Yeah, especially since I don't play many first-person shooter. I think for me it was more like almost a little bit of nostalgia, since I did play the original Call of Duty, and I don't play many of them, so I'm not as burned out on the topic. And yeah, it's your typical World War II story, landing in the Normandy, battling your way through France to Germany. But I think it's well done, and it does have some decent gameplay mechanics that stand out, at least to me, a little bit. And in the end, it's one of those, like, if you compare it to a movie, it's a decent action movie that you put on. Nothing revolutionary, but it does everything right. What it does, it doesn't do too much wrong, and you have a good time watching it. And you may not watch it again the next day, but in a couple of years you throw it on again and still have a good time with it without thinking about it too much.
Yeah, absolutely. If I remember right, I feel like that game was pretty long too for a Call of Duty game. I feel like it was closer to like the 10-hour mark or something like that, compared to like the 6-hour campaign that the other ones are.
Yeah, I haven't played through it yet. I think I'm what, like six missions in or so, which are between 20 and 40 minutes depending on it. But I can't see how many missions are left. You can't scroll forward how many missions are left, so I don't know. But I think my next mission is now just crossing. I just crossed into German territory with the army, so there's still some time left, I guess. I would assume that we'll make it all the way to Berlin, but I don't know.
So I'm curious, from a German perspective, how is the voice acting, like the German voice acting?
It's actually pretty good. It's actually there were a couple of moments where I wasn't sure if it was actual German. It was German words, but it didn't really make sense what they said. So I wonder if that was just then I guess, an American voice actor or actress like reading out a text that they don't understand and doing a pretty good job with the accent, but the, there were a few things that didn't really make sense. But I don't know. Maybe it's just generally um, a translation thing, because I know that the original Call of Duty was infamous for a translation era where when people throw a grenade and yell "fire in the hole," you can't translate that in German, but they literally translated the words
Oh,
to German.
interesting.
So it was like "fire in a hole," basically in German, and it
Yeah.
just didn't make sense. But it was like in the middle of battle, and everyone was just talking about holes. So that was definitely an issue and kind of a meme back in the day. So I wonder if it's that another issue where maybe the German voice actors just got a text, read it, and that's what they had to deliver.
Yeah. Interesting. What else you been playing?
Hmm. A couple of things. What shall I talk first about?
Tell me about Crusader Kings 3.
Yeah, I mean, have you checked it out? I thought you had
I have
implied
not.
interest.
So I don't know if I've ever even tried Crusader Kings 2. I think
Hmm.
I own it. I think I got it in like a humble bundle or something like that. It just looks so intimidating that I don't think I could ever get into it.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Crusader Kings 2, and it was absolutely intimidating, and the UI was terrible. That is the first good thing about Crusader Kings 3. I felt like, and I really only spent like a couple hours in Crusader King 2. So I really don't know much about the game either in terms of the gameplay. And I started Crusader Kings 3, and the tutorial, it takes a while and it's very slow. But if you go through it and take your time with it and like read the tooltips, it is it gives you a good sense of the base game already, and it feels much more accessible than Crusader Kings 2 in terms of giving you the basic understandings. And yeah, these types of games, the more you play it, the more knowledgeable you become about the mechanics, and the more you find out and little tips and tricks. But I think getting a good grasp of the basic game um, is much more accessible in Crusader Kings 3, at least from my
So
perspective.
I have never really even known what these games are about. I mean, I am just kind of guessing just from what I've seen. Like, do you create a family and then like you just try and like take over the world, or just
Kind of.
try and
So
rule however you want?
yeah, you take over a ruler of that time. It's usually historic rulers,
Oh, it's always
as far as
historic. You
possible.
can't like create your own dynasty or something like that.
Well, we will get to that.
Okay.
So you start as you pick a ruler of a region that you can pick a king or a smaller landlord, or not landlord but lord or whatever of some kind,
A
and
bishop.
that yeah,
I don't
like
know.
a duchy or whatever, a duke, um, and some kind of ruler. You pick them, and then you rule your country. And your main goal really is to create a dynasty, which means you have to make sure that while you are in power, you kind of set the table for your heir. It, because the game is only over once you die and you have no heir, or you lose all your land. And other than that, you can lose and gain land, and ascend in title rank and descend in title rank as much as is possible over history. But
Do you start at a
that
certain
is really the main
time
struggle.
in history?
Again?
Do you start at a certain time?
Yes. So in this one, there are two different time starting points. I think one is 890 something, and the other one is 1090 something or so. So a little bit like around the Crusades.
And it's
Hence the name.
so do you just get like a map of Europe and then you just like pick a country that you want to start with?
It's not just a map of Europe, but also a big part of Africa and pretty much large chunks of Asia as well,
Okay.
and large and small countries. And if you, as you know, in history there were like a billion little kingdoms and duchies and all of
Yeah.
that to pick from. And then you kind of have to wiggle your way through history. And the interesting part about it, it's not just creating armies and armies, because you can't just buy it. It's really about using diplomatic skills, and then you have to deal with your court. Like, if people like you, they will respond to you better than otherwise. You have to arrange marriages for your children, so so they may get a claim um, on different land. And you will also die. Like that is part of the game. Your first ruler will die, and then you continue as the heir of that ruler.
Mm.
So it's important to kind of set up your heirs along the way. But lots of things can go in between. Wars, if you're, for example, a general, like if you're a fighter ruler and you're in your army, it's easy that you die very early in any kind of battle, or you get captured, or you get ill. There are then random events that can happen, and these are really that shape the quote unquote story of the game, and which make it so addicting, because you have all these little subplots. So I started a YouTube series on it, where I took over as the ruler who at that point in time owned the land where I grew up in real life. And so the northern part of Germany. And it's like one kind of what the ruler that I'm playing is pretty much mainland Denmark today. And you at some point over the span of several years in the game, there was this murder mystery at my court where people were just dying and you didn't know why. And then you have these pop-ups and obviously text, and you read through it, and you have different choices to make on how you want to proceed. Do you want to send do you want your court to be watched at all times by guards, which has positives and negatives effect? Do you want to ask your population, or like send out messages to your people if anyone has any advice? Also positive and negative effects. And these little subplots then just stretch over time and make it so engaging, because you're now invested. Who is the murderer at my court, and what is going on? Are they trying to murder me? And which also can happen, that other countries set up a murder scheme against you. And all these things just interact with each other very interestingly, and you just get sucked into these nitty-gritty things of slowly but surely increasing the size of your realm. But at the same time, oftentimes when one ruler dies, all of a sudden that creates conflict, and then it kind of starts all over again. You oftentimes still have that realm if you did it well in terms of your line of succession, but now people, the brother of the heir, now might want to challenge him for that, and that creates then new dynamics that you then have to fight in the beginning. And each ruler also has different skills, like how good are they at diplomacy? I think there is stewardship, military, intrigue, which is like shady business, and I think there's something else. And these also shape the gameplay, since they introduce now kind of a skill tree system where you choose from one of those specialties, and you can get different perks for that. So, for example, in the intrigue skill tree, there's a perk that you, instead of one murder scheme, you can now have two at a time running, and those things that are not accessible to other rulers, that don't have that specific perk. So over the decades and millennia, I guess, every ruler plays differently, because there are different dynamics within the country. You always have to manage the goodwill of all your vassals and allies and rivals, but also then each ruler has different skills and attributes and perks, and as all of these things. It's very like there. It's a lot. It is
Sounds
overwhelming
very,
at
very
first.
complicated.
At first, but it really isn't. The base principle is not that complicated. It's just that the more you play, the more you get sucked into the details. And if you play the tutorial in Crusader Kings 3, which if you like, it took me roughly hour and a half. It will take you to get through like the hard one tutorial pop up after another. I think then you get a good sense of like the basics of the game and how it goes, and it leaves you then in a position where you can play the game on your own without feeling completely lost.
So is the game is it is it real time and that like the time is just always moving forward and then like a decision pops up and like you choose who to marry your son to or something like that? What is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
actual
there are different.
gameplay?
Yeah, so the gameplay is real time. You can pause the time and have different time speeds, but it is a real time. And for example, if you send out a marriage proposal, that will take a few days until it gets there. So time
And
progresses, and in between things can
everything
happen.
everything is just kind of like a dice roll, like if you go to
Uh,
war with somebody and you do this battle, like I mean I'm sure you make some decisions and things, but like for the most part it's just kind of an
for the
RNG
most
type
part,
system, right?
yeah. For the yeah, well, RNG not really, but it really depends on your skills and the statistics, and like battles, for example, there it also depends on what terrain you're fighting, and so you don't command the battles, but you can observe the circumstances surrounding the battle, and either give yourself better or worse chances through it.
Gotcha. How do you win the game? Like, what is the game over? Is there
There
no
is
game over?
no. I mean, the game goal is to have as great of a dynasty as possible, to have your family house survive for as long as possible, be as successful as possible before. I think there in the end there is some kind of time limit at some point it just ends or so, but I'm not sure. I'm not even sure anyone
A
ever got
meteor
there. But
crashes and just
maybe, yeah,
wipes out
yeah,
all of your
yeah.
all of
Exactly.
Earth. um,
Probably, I would assume, but yeah, there's no definitive goal because you again, like you play different rulers over time, and so your your time goals are a little different with each ruler.
that's kind of too bad. I kind of wish it was more like a civilization type game. I don't know if you've ever played any Civ games, but they have like you can have a science victory or like a diplomatic victory or like a domination victory where you just take over the entire
Oh,
world literally or something.
but that doesn't really exist in real life. So I mean, I guess that is the point of this game, that
Yeah,
there is this historic context where you have real rulers with real skills and real perks and real attributes that are adjusted to them as well, and real life historic events happening that also shape certain things in the world. So
I imagine there must be a huge subculture with this that people try to like play out like the exact events that happened in real life,
probably, yeah.
like the exact battles and the exact way that the exact outcomes of battles and things like that. It
I would
it
assume so,
seems
yeah.
interesting, but I just don't know if I could get into it.
I mean, it is on Game Pass, and
That's
as
true,
people
right?
tell me, it's always worth to just check them out. And it's also a quick download. I think it's just like a 6 gigabytes or so.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, it's really like it's a quick download. And if you have like 2 hours to like sit down and kind of give it a try, see what the tutorial holds for you, and then like the tutorial then opens up into you have like one pop-up message after another explaining all the things to you, but then also after that it kind of leads you into a scenario where you then can just continue that and have a proper play. Also, I will say it helps that while you play the game, you can pretty much hover your mouse over everything, and it gives you a little tooltip text to explain you again what that means. Because there's so
That's
much going on, it
nice.
really helps to if you can just hover over and it's like, oh yeah, that was that what it means, or how does that affect this? You can just check it up immediately without going into like a wiki thing or so.
The only thing that got me halfway interested in wanting to try Crusader Kings 2 was um, I think they have a really, really extensive mod
Mm.
that turns it into Game of Thrones, like the Game of
They
Thrones
have
universe.
there are already a bunch of mods out for Crusader Kings
Really?
3. Yeah, like there's a Vampire the Masquerade mod
Oh,
already out, and
interesting.
I think for there was also like a big Warhammer mod for Crusader Kings 2. So
Yeah.
yeah, the mod community is very, very big and is also already uh, in full gear for Crusader Kings 3.
I don't suppose you know how modding works with um, the Game Pass version, do you?
No.
Because I know that
Oh
there's.
yeah. You open it opens the Paradox launcher, and then you
Oh, do
can
they have their own
like you
launcher?
can
Okay,
and
that's
there is
nice.
like a mod tab. I haven't tried it out, but I assume that you just install it through that. I would assume.
That's been one of the complaints with Game Pass is the way they install games is very odd. They a lot of times most
Okay.
of the games they install it to like a hidden folder, and so it really hinders a lot of mods being able to be used because you can't
Mm.
even find out where the actual folder is installed, or it's like some weird encryption that they do on the games. So it's kind of weird, but they've talked about that that they want to try and improve that and make it more like a traditional install.
Yeah, like again, I'm not too sure how it exactly works with Crusader Kings, but when you open it, it has its own little launcher, and there is a mod tab to it. So I would assume that at least the most common mods will be available through that.
Yeah, that's good. Speaking of Game Pass, you've also been playing some Wasteland 3.
That is correct. I have indeed. That is the reason why I got Game Pass in the first place. And I never played any of the previous Wasteland games, but now with the launch of Wasteland 3 coming closer, I just heard more about the games and was like, that sounds exactly like something that I would like. Why haven't I played these games?
For everyone
And
that doesn't know what
yeah.
Wasteland 3 is, what tell me about it. What is it?
So in the historic context, the original Wasteland is the game that inspired the Fallout series,
Mm-hmm.
and or the what the Fallout became pretty much what the spiritual successor to the original Wasteland. And the actual gameplay is a turn-based RPG. And for me personally, for me it feels very much, at least Wasteland 3 does, like a mix between Divinity gameplay and in the Fallout world,
Okay.
if you want. It is not the Fallout world. I will have to say that
Mm-hmm.
it's its own post-apocalyptic world, but it kind of feels like if you would have like the feeling of a Fallout world coupled with a Divinity Original Sin gameplay,
Okay.
which for
Gotcha.
me is very positive.
Yeah, it sounds amazing because I mean I love Divinity Original Sin. I love the gameplay in that game. But I also prefer more of like a science fiction post-apocalyptic type world. So I mean that just sounds like the perfect game for me.
Yeah,
I really cannot wait to play this game. The only thing that's holding me back is just time because I know it's a huge, massive time sink. I think
yes,
they said it's like 80 hours to play through this game,
I'm sure.
at least.
At least, yeah.
So I really want to wait until I can just like fully devote my time to this and just really sink my teeth into it. But
Yeah,
how far into it are you?
Now today, so I have a series on YouTube, cheap plug, and today is Friday. I started, I think last, so I think I'm now 6 episodes, roughly an hour, so 6 hour ish
Okay.
into the game. Um, so a little bit into it, the basics, but there's still lots of things that I now obviously just discovering in terms of gameplay aspects and abilities and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and the reason why I compared it more to a Divinity gameplay and less so to a an XCOM round based style is that the while you do have more of a squad like an XCOM, um, the big change for me is that it feels more like a tabletop RPG, in terms of the freedom of choice in the world. Like you can do a lot of things, and like in in a lot of conversations you have special options to pick from based on what stats you have and what abilities you may have. Or like if there's someone injured on the ground, you need a first aid skill, then you can help them, or otherwise you can just talk to them or whatever. And these kind of elements feel very tabletop RPG and feel very Divinity to me, and less so like the typical just round base combat style, which is of course a big part of the game as well.
Do you create a character?
Yes, you actually, or you can. You there are a couple of um, base ones to start from. You start with two, also like in Divinity Original Sin 1, funnily enough. Um, but yeah, you have two, and then you can either just pick from I think 4 duos or so, or create your own two,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have, I think, a party up to 6 people.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it looks really, really good. I did hear that there were quite a few bugs. Have you run into any issues?
I haven't seen any bugs yet
Okay.
myself. There are a couple of like little sound pauses sometimes in cutscenes, but that could just also be my laptop struggling. Um, but no, nothing really that I noticed. But I heard it as well, and it's one of those games where save early, save often. Quick
Yeah.
save is your friend,
I heard that the
just in
loading
case.
times were also really bad. Have you noticed that at
I
all?
haven't. I mean, not too bad for me. And I mean, I have to play on pretty low specs because I'm also recording, so that
Hmm.
kind of skews things a little bit. So it's hard to say like how long it really would be if I wouldn't be recording. Um, but it didn't seem outrageously long
Okay.
to me.
Um,
And
just
also, like I will say that the areas that at least the ones that I've been, they are pretty large, so you don't have those loading screens very often anyway.
yeah, I guess that's what I was going to ask too. Are they like so it doesn't like load every time you go into a building or something like that, does it? Is it
No,
just like
no, like
areas that is a loading
yeah.
screen?
So I can tell you like the first like town that you enter, you have pretty much that is cut in two parts. That town, with one loading screen in between, but like in each part you have multiple houses that you can enter and interact with people, and there you just click on the door and enter a building. So there's no loading screens in between that.
Just Possum in chat asks, "Are you as annoyed as the narrator's lady's voice as I am?"
The narrator lady's voice.
Or is she talking about Crusader Kings? Is there a
Uh
narrator's voice
no, there's no narrator, and maybe like there was a narrator in like the opening cutscene in Wasteland 3. Oh yeah,
in the
I'm
beginning
not.
of
I mean,
Wasteland 3?
yeah, there's a cutscene that is narrated, so I'm not sure if that lady shows up again as a narrator. But I mean, I didn't mind it. Didn't stand out to me negatively.
All right. Yeah, I really, really want to check it out. I don't know if I should just like download it and try it out, and then knowing that I probably won't have time for it, or if I should just wait until I can like really just go all in.
Yeah, that's a tough call.
It's the same thing with
I'm sure. Yeah,
It's the same thing with Divinity though. Like I still have never finished Divinity Original Sin 2. I love that game, but it just is so long and I get so sucked into it and I play it for like 2 weeks and I'm through like one chapter
yeah.
and then something else is out, that I really want to play. It's just tough to make time.
Yeah, for sure, and that's with me as well. I just played it because I was interested in it. And obviously, now I was sick, so I had a little more time at my hand anyway. And but I don't know how far I get, and if I will complete it, because with those long games, you never know. Even if they are great and awesome, if there's something coming in your way and you lose track, it's easy to also stop. So I don't know. And
Yeah.
just suppose I at least haven't heard that lady before. Maybe there will be more major cutscenes, but I don't know. Again, I'm just like really 6 hours in, which in those games is like 0.1%. So I don't know.
Right. Very cool. Yeah, I cannot wait to play that. So, let's see. We talked about Call of Duty World War II, Wasteland 3, and Crusader Kings 3. Anything else you've been playing that you want to throw out?
I have a little bit dabbled in Animals Crossing. What is it called?
Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, that. Uh, yeah, I checked it out a little bit. I think it's not really for me because it's like it's fun and cute, and it's nice to like pick up for a few minutes, but it's nothing that super grabs me and like sucks me in, and because I feel like I'm missing a purpose there.
Yeah, I I think I like it a little bit more than you do. I definitely am not as big on it as some people are. I had tried one of the Animal Crossings before this. I tried the one on the 3DS, New Leaf, I think it was, and like it was enjoyable for the first couple of hours, and then I just kind of got to the point I was like, well, now what do I do? Um, but I think this one does a much better job at giving you actual goals and objectives and things to do. But also at the same time, just being like, hey, you can just do nothing if you want. You can just like, literally just uh, hit a couple of rocks every day and just pick up the rocks and, make a little tiny bit. You can really just kind of play however you want to play. But I do like that it does give you a little bit more incentives to do things. But at the same time, like I really fell off of that game pretty fast. I've gone back a couple of times, and I was kind of expecting like to come back and all of my villagers to be like rioting and like graffitied my house and everything like that. But
Burn down the
it didn't even
island.
seem like anything had really changed. Like I talked to a couple of the villagers, and they were like, "Oh, it's been a while since I've seen you," and I was like, "Yeah, it's been 3 months."
Nobody checked on me in my house.
I know.
Could have been dead.
So yeah, I don't know. That game is weird. I see why people really enjoy it,
Oh yeah.
but I don't really enjoy it as much as some people do. But at the same time, I mean, I bought that game and I feel like I got my money's worth out of it with the time that I put in. So,
Yeah.
and the cool thing about it is like you can go back to it at any time, and it's cool how it changes the seasons. Like I think it'll be fun to check in when fall gets here and when winter gets here, and see it'll be snowing and the leaves will be changing, that kind of stuff. I think that could be kind of fun. All right, let's see. I have been playing. Well, I finished Batman: Arkham Asylum. So, going back a little ways, after the reveal of Gotham Knights and the Suicide Squad game, I wanted to go back and try and give those games another chance. The Arkham games, the Arkham trilogy. Although I really want to play Origins as well. Yeah, I finally just bit the bullet and went through Asylum, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I don't think I'm like nearly as hot on it as a lot of people are. I just thought it was like an enjoyable experience. It was just kind of a fun late night game that I would just play a few hours each night. The combat, I can see why people liked it so much at the time, but I don't feel like it's really
Mm,
aged that well.
yeah,
It's very easy. It's almost just too easy. Um, and it's just it looks cool, but it just is not very complex. All of the skill tree that's in it is just not really that interesting. It's like the next skill is you just get a little bit more health, or you get a skill that just allows you to do like a once you build up your combo meter to a certain point, you can like pick up an enemy and throw them.
yeah,
But I think the best part of that game is just the exploration, just exploring the environments, going through the environments, finding the Riddler trophies, just traversing the world is really fun. It's a really fun, just kind of self-contained experience that doesn't really overstay its welcome. It just kind of does a good job at what it's trying to do. Um, the story is fun and interesting, and I think that they set up a good world. And so once I finished that, I immediately jumped into Arkham City, and I started that one. And like immediately, I could tell how much better that one already is. Just just how much more things there are to explore. Just everything in general just seems better. So I'm really excited to go through that. Also, it seems like Two-Face is one of the main villains, which I like Two-Face a lot. And it's cool to have Catwoman in there as well. So
yeah.
yeah, I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I always felt like Arkham City is much more polished than Asylum. Asylum gets the innovation bonus for like creating this universe and creating the gameplay mechanics and all of that. But I feel like City then really rounds it out, and in both the story, character, and also gameplay aspects, it just feels everything feels just better. And I agree with Asylum. I was never too mind blown by it as by it either. But I do think what it also does well is kind of making you feel powerful as Batman, which is fun. Like that it's not too tedious to beat up thugs. I feel like that there the
Yeah,
easiness kind of plays into it a little bit. I was a little bit disappointed at the ending of Asylum. I felt like that was a little bit strange how it all ended there. Um, but other than that, I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
yeah. I think it probably did so well because I mean, were there any other Batman games before this game? Um,
Bad ones, just a
yeah,
bunch of bad ones.
I don't know of any that were did anything interesting.
No,
Um, so I can definitely see why people that were fans of Batman, they were super excited and rewarded for playing this game because it's definitely a good experience. So yeah, I'm excited to really get into Arkham City and go through that.
yeah,
I've been playing a little bit of Call of Duty as well. I've been playing a little bit of Modern Warfare. Going through some of the multiplayer.
which one? Which
Call
Modern
of
Warfare?
Duty Modern Warfare 2019. Yeah, I just the multiplayer just keeps sucking me back in. It's so weird because I never get into multiplayer games, but there's just something about this one that I just really enjoy. Um I think it's one of the few games that I'm actually like I'm not great at it, but I can like actually do pretty decent in. Like I usually will be in like the top 3 at the end of a match, and so that obviously makes it more enjoyable, like if you're doing halfway decent in a game
So
like
you're playing the
this.
Battle Royale mode.
No, I so there's it's a little confusing. There's a bunch of different modes. There's the multiplayer modes, which they have a bunch of different modes within this. There's just like your standard team deathmatch. There's a capture the flag type game. There's honestly one of my favorite modes is just this super tiny map. It's like set on a ship, and it's got these ship containers on it. And I mean, it's literally like maybe, I don't know, like 25 feet by 25 feet. Like it's just a
Okay.
square, little tiny area. And they just throw 10 people in there and you just do like team deathmatch. And I mean, you will die like 25 times because everybody's just running around, just killing everybody just super fast. But it's just super fun just to get like a really high powered shotgun or something like that. Just run around and just kill people really fast. But then there's other modes that are slower. There's like a search and destroy where you have one team. This is on a little bit bigger map. One team has an objective to find an enemy. It's like an enemy bomb, and you have to disarm
Yeah.
the bomb before the other team finds you and kills your team. And these are like more limited respawns, so like you don't just respawn immediately when you die. So it's a little bit more impactful. There's domination, which is just capture the flag. Basically, you have 3 flags, and you have to try and hold all of those objectives. But I don't know. It's just really fun. It's fast and easy to get into. The customization is just insane. Like the number of weapons and the number of ways that you can customize your weapons. Just so many different ways that you can do that. They always have like these daily achievement or challenges that rotate every day. So one day it'll be like kill 50 enemies with a shotgun with 3 attachments with a scope and a grip tape or something like that. And so it's just like always causing you to kind of change up your strategy a little bit and change up which weapons you're using. And then on top of that, they have a battle pass, which I have bought, I think, like 3 battle passes, but I still have not spent any money on the game because you can just earn the currency through playing the battle pass. And the battle pass is 100 tiers, and each tier, you unlock the tiers just by getting XP, and each of the tiers just gives you things like new weapons, new skins, new operators. They have the operators. They don't really do anything, but they're just like basically skins that you play as. Just
I thought Crusader Kings was complicated.
This game is seriously insane. Like the number of customizations that you can do.
Sounds fun though, yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I just, play for like an hour or two. Well, not even that much. Maybe like 30 minutes to an hour a day just to like do the daily challenges. It's just something to just kind of turn my brain off, just jump in, just play some and, turn it off. And then
I definitely did that with PUBG for a while when they introduced the daily challenges. And
Yeah.
in our friends, so we played a bunch of PUBG, especially when it came out. And but there was that also like, oh, play this map once and then also kill 3 people with an SMG or things like that. And that that's and it was like 5 rounds a day or so,
Yeah.
maybe like an hour and a half or 2 to play a little bit longer, obviously, since there the rounds can be a little bit longer, but it was not this super crazy amount of time putting in, but every now and then just doing that, checking these 2-3 things off, collecting these, and like getting a small reward.
Yeah. And so the battle royale that they have is called Warzone. And I play a little bit of that, but I just am not really a big battle royale fan. I think it can be really fun, but I just, for one, I don't think I'm good enough. I think you really, really, really have to practice at those games to get really good. And one match will take like 15, 20 minutes, sometimes even more than that, depending on if you get like all the way down to the last few people. And it can be like super fun and super intense. If you're like last 10 people and the circle's coming in, and you're like hiding out in a bush and just like looking around trying to find people, it can be super fun and like really, really tense. But usually what happens is I drop in, I don't see anybody. I find a few weapons. I spend like 10 minutes trying to find some weapons. I get everything I need, and then I like, the circle starts closing in. I run, and then bam, I'm shot from like 5 miles away from a sniper or something like that. Um, so I don't know. I probably just don't really have a great strategy. I mean, I feel like I do better in Warzone than I've done in any other battle royale, but still at the end of the day, like it takes too long to get into a match and like to actually get down. Like the funnest part of a
That is very
battle
interesting.
royale
Yeah,
is for me is like getting down to like that top 10 to like the last
sure.
circle and like really just fighting it out. But all the part up until that point is just so tedious and just so nerve wracking that like I hardly ever get there, and it just gets me frustrated. They do have a cool thing in this that I don't know if there's any other battle royales that do this, but if you die, you do get a chance to come back. So what they do, if you die early on, you get sent to what is called the gulag, and in the gulag, it is a 1v1 match in a kind of like an old shower area in a jail cell or something like that, like a big shower system in a prison or something like
Okay.
that, where you start on one side and the other person starts on the other side, and you're given like a pistol or something like that, and whoever wins that gets sent back into the match. So that's kind of a cool way to like, if you do die, if you get shot, like, from a sniper from across the map, then you can get back in. But yeah, it just, I don't know. It's still too slow for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually really like the slow pace. I think that is something why I enjoyed PUBG so much, is because it was so slow. It was so painfully slow, and because I feel like I, for example, when you talk about the multiplayer modes where you the little one on the ship, that would be absolute horrendous for me, because I feel like the constant respawning, that just kills me. Like, I feel like for me, it creates the feeling of that I'm not getting to play, because it's just constant
There are
respawning.
times where you respawn and like you literally die before you're like even fully respawned.
Yeah, and that's not for me. I kind of need some time in my rounds to actually feel like I played, and which is also why in PUBG I was never one who did like the crazy hot drops where 30 people lands and like then get 3 kills but also die after 2 minutes. I don't get much satisfaction out of that. I much rather than landed way outside and have crappy loot and kind of just survival my way through it and get to the top 5 with sneaky tactics. With no kills, I have more fun doing that than doing these hot drops. And I guess for me, I always approach the PUBG, or like, I guess since I really only played PUBG, but in Battle Royale in general, for me, it was never about like the kills or anything. For me, it was always about the placement. So my goal was always, no matter how crappy my loot is, I will figure out a way to get as far as possible, and if that is crouching in the bush for 40 minutes, that's my strategy, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So and that was basically my personal enjoyment out of it, like kind of challenging the survival aspect of those battle royale games.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And I used to play a little bit of PUBG and I did the exact same thing. I never went into like the hot zones. I would always, jump or land like as far away from people as I could. And I would just kind of, slowly make my way and just see how far I could get without basically ever killing anyone. I guess the problem with that in Warzone is you really don't get rewarded like at all unless you are more aggressive and actually get kills. And the main enjoyment that I'm getting out of Call of Duty right now is unlocking that, going through the battle pass. And
Mm,
the quickest way to get through the battle pass is to get kills and to get
yeah.
your XP up higher. And I don't feel like I hardly get nearly as much XP doing 30 minutes of Warzone that may be like 1 to 2 matches versus doing like 3 or 4, or maybe even like 5 matches in a quick multiplayer map where I can get like 20, 30 kills in one match and, level up much faster that way.
Yeah, and I totally get that, and I always totally understood the criticism about even just PUBG within the battle royale genre was that it's too slow and that it's like 10 minutes of looting and then 10 minutes of nothing and then 10 minutes of tension. But I felt like that for me personally was where it found its niche because you had so many other very high-paced multiplayer shooters at that time especially before the everyone had a battle royale mode. But at that time, you had like Call of Duty and you had Destiny, and then what's it called? Like
Fortnite,
the one. No, yeah, Fortnite, of course, as well, but then also
Apex.
Overwatch on
Oh yeah.
Apex, and like they're all very high paced and high energy. And for me, then having a game that was very much the antithesis of that, just like, oh yeah, no, this is slow, but it's that also had some strategic aspect to it, because if everything around you is slower, you have to be slower as well to not stick out like a sore thumb. So you have to kind of maneuver your way through it. That made it for me interesting, but I totally also get it if like it doesn't create the same adrenaline rush as like a high paced game. And I also understand the time management aspect of, oh, if I have 2 hours to play and like I really only get what I'm looking for in PUBG every fifth game when I get to the top 10 or so. Yeah, no, totally get that as well. That's just different strokes for different folks.
And I will say, I mean, I think Warzone may be like the most interesting battle royale, the best battle royale. If I wanted to really get into it, I think it may be the most interesting because they do some really cool things with it. So you collect cash, like on top of collecting weapons, you have just cash laying on the ground, and so you collect cash, and once you get like $4,000, then you can actually buy, well, I mean, you can buy stuff for even cheaper than that, but I think it's like $4,000. You can actually buy a loadout, and you can buy a loadout that like you create in Call of Duty. So I don't know if you've played any of the Call of Duties, any of the multiplayers, but in the multiplayer modes, like you create your loadout. So you have like 10 different loadouts, and you choose like what gun you want, you choose all the attachments, what scope you want, what grip you want, what stock you want, what barrel you want, all of this different stuff, and it all affects like how your weapon handles and how much damage it does and things like that. And then on top of that, you get to choose like a lethal grenade, like a lethal type of grenade, and then like a non-lethal type of grenade.
Grenade.
Oh, what?
A pomegranate.
A palm grenade?
Yeah.
What is a palm grenade?
A pomegranate, the fruit.
Oh, a pomegranate.
Pomegranate, yeah. Close enough.
What is pomegranate in German is what?
Granatapfel, which would be granite apple.
Granite apple.
Grenade apple.
Grenade apple, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you get to, like, after you get a certain amount of cash, you get to actually choose a loadout, which I think is really cool, because that was always kind of an annoyance with me in battle royales, is like you never really got the weapons that you really wanted. But I mean, I get too that like that's part of it, that's just kind of a cool thing about it. But then on top of that, they also have like these contracts that are really cool. So like you can pick up a contract, and it will say like you will get $4,000 to kill this person, and they'll give you like a rough area that they're in, but it won't show you exactly where they are. So like you can try and go and hunt down this one person and get some extra money, get some extra XP and things like that. So I mean, they do some really interesting things. I wish I was better at it. But I just
sounds cool, but I wouldn't like it.
Yeah. You know what I've always wanted with a battle royale, and I will probably never get this because I'm probably the only person that wants this, but I have always wanted a single player
mix between XCOM and Mass Effect
and Dark Souls. No, I've always wanted a single player battle royale where it's just me versus 100 AI bots. It's just like the exact same, basically like PUBG. Just I drop in with 100 or 99 bots, and I just try and kill the bots, and they try and kill me and everything like that. But I don't like playing with people because they're too good, and I get nervous, and I much prefer playing with bots that I know that I actually have a chance to win, even if like they're decent. I would love that, and I would love for there to be like a whole progression system. Like I would
I
honestly
don't think that's
play.
impossible. I think there like a single player mode for these games is not impossible. I just think it is super tough to create an AI for that is halfway decent.
Maybe so,
That is
yeah,
neither
maybe
broken
for
nor because it can't read your movement. You can't have that. So you have basically then 100 or however many 60, 50 um, individually very free acting AIs that at the same time kind of simulate the kind of like the spread over the map and how loot will, because otherwise you just have like basically 2 points where the bots will land, because those are the per calculation the optimal
yeah.
landing points or so. So
Well, I mean, give me 10 people. I don't know. I like playing against AI versus real people.
I like the idea.
And I have always wanted this, and they could totally do this. They've even done it in some of the Call of Duties. But I've always wanted an option to just go through the entire multiplayer with bots. And so I get that like you wouldn't want to do this because you would just have people just playing against bots to grind for XP and then go into like the regular multiplayer mode and they'd be like way overpowered. But just give me like a completely separate version of multiplayer to where progression doesn't carry over, but like I get to progress through the multiplayer and get the unlocks and everything like that on a separate version just with AI bots. And they have done this. They've done this a couple of times with I think Modern Warfare 2 and shoot, what was the other one? I can't remember the other one. It was the one where you had a dog as your companion. But they allowed you to do that, and it was
Blair
so much
Witch?
fun. What?
Blair Witch?
Blair Witch? No. Call of Duty Blair Witch. Um, I can't remember the name of it. It was like 2013, 2014 Call of Duty. But it was so fun to me because I just love doing the multiplayer stuff, but I don't really like the pressure of playing against people because I always feel bad like when I'm on a team and if I'm not doing well, then I feel like I'm letting the team down. But if I'm just playing with AI, then it's just like, whatever. Nobody cares
Yeah,
about
no,
AI.
and I feel like the older games definitely did that. I remember the original Star Wars Battlefront did that. You had like these team matches where you just had you and like bots all around, and I think the original Battlefield also did it, or Battlefield 2, one of the
I
two.
mean, there's a lot of
Um,
games that let you do this. I mean, all of the current Call of Duties still let you do this. They just don't unlock any progression. Like you can do it,
yeah,
you can set up a custom match and just put in the bots and just play like that. But it's boring to me because like you don't get any rewards or anything like that.
yeah. I mean, I feel like you are onto something there to just kind of separate that. And I mean, maybe then the online Game Pass costs a little bit initially one time, and then you can continue to re-unlock it with your points. Whereas the bot mode is always free, but separate from that, and like you can just progress through it there. I think that's an option, and maybe they will do more of that.
This all stems from way back in like 1999, I think it was, when Call of Duty, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Rogue Spear, I think it was, came out, and I played this game. It was one of my favorite games at the time, and they had this mode called Terrorist Hunt, which they still have in the current Rainbow Six game, but it was just you against like 30 AI bots in a match, and I just loved putting the bots in there because it would always randomize the location. And like back in 2000, this was like a big thing because you could just like play the game and it would always be different. Like the enemies would always be in different locations, and I would just go through like really slowly and just systematically take them out. I think that is like where so much of my enjoyment of stealth and this type of gameplay comes from. It's just doing that
Yeah.
when I was a kid.
Yeah, maybe they'll bring it back.
I don't think they will. I mean, like I said, they have it in some fashion, but it's just not. It's not. I don't think that they're going to devote what the attention that I want them to put towards it, because there's not going to be enough people that want to do that.
Call reality. Oh,
Yeah, we need him to make so many games.
yeah. He better start working.
I know. Last but not least, I just started. Well, I'm continuing my adventure through all of the mainline Zelda games. So I finished Majora's Mask a couple of months ago, and I jumped into Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker yesterday. And I don't have a whole lot to say about it right now because I mean I'm still very early on. But I mean, I like it. It's fun. It's Zelda. I love the art style. I know a lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people, but some people definitely don't love the art style of this Zelda. This is the kind of cel-shaded look that a lot of people didn't really like at the time. But
I feel like it was more of a criticism at the time, where people at the time were like really not having it.
I think that's a lot of what it was, because
yeah.
they went from Ocarina of Time, which at the time I think that was like a really impressive looking game, and then they went to like kind of this cartoony art style, and so I can kind of understand why people were not in love with that. But I think it's really interesting because I think that particular art style has held up way better than the Ocarina of Time art style,
Yeah.
which I still think looks good, but I think this looks like a game that literally could have been made like this year. Just with this art style, it really holds up well. But yeah, I mean, the basic gist of this game, if you haven't played it or you know nothing about Zelda Wind Waker, is that it's actually a little weird. You play, I guess you play as Link. It's like a reincarnated Link, but you get to choose, you get to make your own name, and I don't think they really even like say that you were Link. But it seems like it takes place much farther in the future, and maybe like a different universe or a different time or a different world. I don't know. These games' timelines are weird. But you start out on a little island, and the main thing with this game is that there's a bunch of little islands, and you get a boat that you get to sail, and you're able to like sail to these different islands. And it seems like each island is going to be kind of its own little dungeon and unique area to explore.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, it's fun. It's jolly.
Jolly.
All right. So let's see. Do you want to take a break, Akko? How are you doing?
Yeah, let's take a short break. I need something to drink.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. We'll be back. We will run through the games that are releasing. We got a little bit of news, and then we'll wrap it up with our Games of the Generation discussion and our new friendly wager. We will be right back, guys. And we are back. Welcome back, Akko. Welcome back to everyone else.
Welcome back, me.
Let's see. We got a few games that are coming out that I'm going to run through. Today, September 4th, we have Marvel's Avengers, which is out for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia. We also have Tony Hawk's. Remember Stadia?
That was a hot thing in 2019.
We also have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake is out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. I kind of want to check this out. Did you ever play any of those games?
Yeah, I played a little bit of the Underground game, and I played like very little bit at a friend's place of one of the Tony Hawk Pro Skaters. Yeah, it's one of the game I'm kind of curious about to check out. So I think once I come across, I'll give it at least a look.
Yeah, I never played any of these games because I never had a console, but I always kind of wanted to try them out. So I doubt I'll get it right away, but maybe once it drops in price. I think it's only $30.
Yeah.
But maybe, pick it up for $5 in 6 months or
I'd
something
be surprised
like that.
if it ends up on Game Pass in a couple of months.
Right. We have Kingdoms of Amular Re-Reckoning. Do you know about the Kingdoms of Amular series?
I heard about it. It's like the Grand Fantasy.
Yeah, it's
RPG,
like
right?
a big RPG, kind of like a Skyrim or something like that. It's honestly pretty beloved franchise, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
not a lot of people were expecting them to do a remaster of this. But I kind of want to try this out. I always wanted to
Yeah.
play this game. I think I played maybe an hour or two of it back in the day. And I know a lot of people, everyone that has played it seems to like it. So I think it might be worth checking out.
Same.
That will be out September 8th. Also, September 8th, we have Necromunda Underhive Wars. I think that's a 40K Warhammer 40K kind of tactical RPG game.
Well, I don't want to pay $40,000 for that.
Well, just wait till it's 20K. I didn't know this. I had always heard like the Warhammer 40K games or the 40K universe. I didn't realize that it actually takes place in the year 40,000. Like it's 38,000 years into the future.
I didn't know that either. But
I didn't know what the 40K was about. Also on September 8th, we have The Sims 4 Star Wars Journey to Batuu game pack comes out. I didn't want to like this, but it looks kind of cool.
That's like every Sims DLC ever, because it's like, no, I'm not giving EA even more of my money for yet another expansion. Oh, look at
this looks kind of cool though. And then last up on September 9th, we have the first of the Outer Worlds expansions, which is Peril on Gorgon. That'll be coming out September 9th for all platforms. I still really want to play Outer Worlds sometime. I played about 10 hours of it and just fell off of it, but I need to get back to it.
Yeah, I haven't played it. So from what I heard is that a lot of people were kind of expecting like space Fallout, but in the end, it was really a little more like linear and like it's not bad, but it was. Like,
that's the thing. I don't think that's a bad thing. It's like
no.
I think that they took the Fallout formula and condensed it into a shorter, story-driven, more linear approach. And like, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's really good in the way that they did it. But at the same time, like for whatever reason,
expecting something else.
Yeah, I don't know. When I played it, like it was exactly what I was expecting. It seemed really fun. I just fell off of it for some reason. Need to get back on it.
Check it out.
It's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the news.
This podcast is sponsored by Game Pass. I wish.
Hashtag not an ad.
Yeah, that would be
um,
great. So if by the way, if Microsoft, if you Peter Microsoft, if you're sitting there listening right now, you want to sponsor the Joy of Pixel podcast, feel free to negotiate with Hal.
you heard it, Phil Spencer.
Maybe Hal has an open slot for Microsoft sponsoring. I don't know.
DMs are open, Phil, anytime. All right, let's jump into a little bit of the news. There's just a tiny bit. I mean, there's tons of rumors as usual, but we'll just throw out some of the main stuff. So Nvidia announced their new 30 series graphics cards. I only mention this because, I mean, this is obviously more of a PC centric news article, but I have personally been very excited for these. I have been kind of needing to upgrade my graphics card for a while, and there was a lot of speculation about how crazy expensive these things were going to be, which they are crazy expensive. Don't get me wrong. But they are also crazy powerful. So the big thing to take away from this is they announced 3 new cards. They announced the RTX 3070, 3080, and 3090. These are going to be available starting in September with the 3080 and 3090, and then October for the 3070. The crazy thing, though, is the 3070, which is going to be $500, is more powerful than the RTX 2080 Ti, which is the previous generation of cards, which is a $1,200 card. So for $500, you're getting what last generation for $1,200 was in terms of power. So
sounds like a good deal if you want a new PC, save up some
yeah,
extra,
I mean, this stuff is
$100.
expensive. You know, PC gaming is expensive in general. Like, yeah, you can build a pretty cheap kind of budget computer to play games, but if you want to have, you know, if you want to play on ultra, if you want to play at really high frame rates, if you want to play at 4K, it's not cheap. But for those people that are looking to upgrade, I think this is a really good path to upgrade, even if it is rather expensive. We also had another just Nintendo Direct. They just dropped these out of nowhere. It's so strange to me. I mean, Nintendo is just so strange in general, but they have been doing this lately, where they just like all of a sudden just announce a Nintendo Direct, and it's like I hate when they you know say, hey, we're gonna have a Nintendo Direct in 3 months, you know, get excited for this, or if they do like, hey, there's an announcement for this announcement coming up or something like this, but they just like take it to the other side of the spectrum and they just like don't even say anything, and you just wake up and you're like, there's a Nintendo Direct. It would be nice if they at least gave us like a day warning or something.
We did a Nintendo Direct 2 hours ago. Here's the announcement.
So this was something that had been rumored for pretty much all year, because it is Mario's 35th anniversary, and there was a big rumor that there was going to be a bunch of Mario remasters, remakes, or ports or something. And it turns out that it looks like all of that was pretty much true. It just took them a little while to get everything out. So they announced quite a bit of stuff. They announced I'm not sure the terminology on a lot of this stuff. I don't know if some of these things are considered remasters or ports, but basically they have Super Mario 3D World is going to be coming to the Switch. It looks like it's more of like a remaster. They also are including a new level that's called Bowser's Fury with it. What's your history with the Mario games? Have you played any of them?
I played a little bit when I was super little, and then for the longest time, not at all, because I didn't have a Nintendo console for the longest time. So I played when I was very little on the Super Nintendo. I think it was Super Mario World 3, or Super Mario 3, one of the two.
Okay.
And then I played one on the Game Boy. And then since that was, and I played Super Mario 64 at some point with an emulator.
Super Mario 64, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So 3D World, I have heard, was a lot of people's favorite Mario game, and I never got a chance to play it. So that is going to be coming in February of next year, February 12th. They announced something they're calling Super Mario Bros. 35, which is so. Do you know what Tetris Royale is? Or Tetris
Yeah.
99, they call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This looks like Tetris 99, but it's a Mario game. So it's you against 35 other people playing, I guess, like a Mario level, and you're like speed running the level or something like that.
Okay.
I mean, it looks kind of cool, honestly. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be just included in their online service. The thing that's
That's fair
bizarre,
enough.
though, is this is only going to be available until March 31st of 2021. So it's a limited time thing. They're giving it to you until March 31st, and then they're going to take it away. Don't ask me. They announced a something called Mario Kart Live, which I am still confused on what this is. It looks like it's an AR Mario Kart. I think you actually have to like set up a track in your house, and then like you control like an AR augmented reality version of Mario Kart playing on this track. I mean, it looks cool, but it also looks so gimmicky. I don't really understand what it
Good
is.
thing that Nintendo never had any gimmicky things like
No,
those
of
on
course
Wii
not.
games.
Speaking of gimmicks, they also announced a piece of hardware called Game and Watch, which is just a little tiny handheld device that literally just plays Super Mario Bros. Just like the first Super Mario. It's $50. It's going to be available on November 13th.
Like by now, everyone can get like an emulator on their smartphone to play
I
Super
know,
Mario.
but you can't get this. This is the official handheld Game and Watch. And then the big announcement was, what do they call this? Super Mario 3D All Stars. So this is the thing that was the big thing that was rumored. This is going to be Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy 1, available all in one package, coming out September 18th, so very quickly. And again, it's going to include all three of those. They don't really look like they're definitely not remakes. I wouldn't even necessarily call them remasters. Like the Super Mario 64 port still has the original 4:3 aspect ratio that you'll play on the Switch. It does seem like it's a higher resolution. Sunshine does look like Sunshine and Galaxy both are going to be running at 1080p. I think they might be at 720p on the handheld mode, but 1080p in docked mode. So essentially, I think they're just porting these and just putting them into one package. I think this is really cool. I know Super Mario 64 was kind of a revolutionary game for its time. It's still a lot of people's one of their favorite Mario games. Super Mario Sunshine seems to be a very beloved game that was kind of an oddball at the time when it came out, but a lot of people really like that. And then Galaxy, I think, is maybe like one of the best modern versions of Mario. And to have those all in one package, I think, is pretty cool. The weird thing about this is another limited edition, another limited run of this. So it's only going to be available to purchase until March 31st, which doesn't seem like that weird if it was only the physical version. But this also includes the digital version. They're literally removing the ability to buy this in any way or form, even through a digital version, on March 31st of 2021.
Yeah, and it is weird, but at the same time, I wonder if it's also genius, kind of putting the pressure on the people of like, if you ever want to play it, you got to buy it now.
Well, that's absolutely what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
But
Or they have something planned for next summer where you maybe have like a Super Mario Sunshine where the first one is included in it or something along those lines.
yeah, so I mean, there's definitely some weird things going on.
Or they will then sell them from then on out, or like from maybe with the short cost,
Individually or
like
something.
separately.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. There's been a big rumor that a new Switch is going to be coming out next year. So maybe this has something to do with there being a new Switch next year, but I still don't really know why they would. I mean, again, I get the physical version. Like, yeah, it costs money to put out these, and Nintendo's just kind of weird about their physical stuff. Like, a lot of times, especially with hardware, they'll only do like a limited run, like that mini SNES Mini and NES Mini. Were very much limited on how many of those they made, even though they sold out like crazy. But I just don't get why you would do this to digital, because yes, it does create a false scarcity, and yes, it is going to create people to just go out and buy them, but I still feel like you would make more money in the long run just having it available to buy.
Bring it back.
Yeah. I guess
but you can always
maybe they'll do that.
Like next September, be like, hey, it's back for half a year.
Did you miss it? It's going to be back for 1 month only.
Maybe it won't be back ever again afterwards.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels so scummy. And of course I went immediately and pre-ordered it because, I got to get it. I got to, it's not going to be available ever again.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. Nintendo's just so weird. Why do they be like this? It's like they create something that everybody loves, but then they just have these bizarre business practices. I don't know. I don't get it. I guess they do it because it works, right?
Yeah. They are like grandparents on Facebook. Like, you love them, but you just don't know what they're doing there. They seem kind of lost.
Yeah. Let's see. That's really about all the news that I had. Again, there wasn't a whole lot. Let's see. There's Witcher 3, they announced that they're going to be offering a free upgrade to next gen for that. They also said for PC. I'm wondering like how in depth the next gen version is going to be. They tend to go pretty in depth whenever they do like a remaster of those. I remember Witcher 1 and Witcher 2. They both did like an enhanced edition of those, and they added like all kinds of cool stuff into it. It was all completely free. They just CD Projekt Red.
Just additional content.
Exact opposite of Nintendo.
Exactly.
They do things
or Control.
Yeah, they do things the right way.
Yeah, I'm excited, especially if there will be. I mean, if they add just one extra mission, I will have to play through The Witcher 3 for a third time.
Mr. Lee is asking what we think about a real life Mario Kart. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier, Mr. Lee. I don't really fully understand what it is. Is it like an AR version of Mario Kart? Do you have to actually buy the tracks? I'm very confused on what that is. What else is new though when it comes to Nintendo? This coming Thursday on September 10th, I think it is. Yeah, September 10th. Ubisoft is going to be holding another Ubisoft Forward or Ubi Forward, whatever they call them. They'll be talking about more games. I know they're going to be talking about... This is kind of another weird story. I don't know if you remember Gods and Monsters. Do you remember that game that was announced for them?
Yeah, they renamed it, right? Like,
to some awful name like Phoenix, Immortal Phoenix Rising or something like that. And they spell Phoenix like... They spell Phoenix like Fenex or something.
Yeah, and it
Or
just sounds like a very
Fynex.
generic fantasy game now, like every other fantasy game.
Also, it's bizarre because that game was supposed to be out like February of this year, and they initially delayed it like 6 months, and now they're delaying it again to like next year. I was so excited for that game, and now my excitement is just going like so far down because it just seems like that game is just in a mess. I hope it's still good
Yeah,
though.
I wouldn't keep my hopes up.
Yeah. But yeah, some weird stuff with that. I am looking forward to checking out the Ubisoft Forward though, just to get some updates. There's a rumor, take this with a grain of salt, that there will be either a new Prince of Persia game or maybe a remaster of the older Prince of Persia games. I think that would be a really good franchise to bring back. I would personally like to see a brand new Prince of Persia, but I think it could be cool to have a remaster of maybe Sands of Times or something like that. Yeah, there it
That
is.
would be fun.
Immortals Phoenix Rising. But yeah, that's about all the news that I have. So let's move on and let's move to our friendly wagers, shall we? So last week's wager was Marvel's Avengers releases today. I'm going to go to... We initially were going to do Square Enix's Twitter account, but we changed that to @Marvel Avengers. And we're going to look at the newest tweet. Hold on, let me go to @Marvel Play Avengers. And we're going to look at the newest tweet. It's not the pinned tweet. So the newest tweet, we wanted to choose how many retweets that was going to have. And you wrote down how many? I think I have it right here. You said...
I forgot it, honestly. So
you said 7,537. I think you might be a little high. I chose 250. All right, so the newest tweet is from 1 hour ago, and it has 211 retweets. Checkmate, Akko.
I think I
2-0 now. All right. So let's see. Our next wager for next week is going to be next Thursday. We're going to do something with Ubisoft. Ubisoft is going to hold their next Ubisoft Forward, where they will showcase some of their upcoming games. I want to know how many views will the official Ubisoft video have on their YouTube at the time we do the podcast. Now, I'll give you a little reference. Their last one, let's see. Their last one for July 2020 had 1.7 million views. Now, keep in mind, this is only going to be a day after the video, but we're going to guess how many views that YouTube video is going to have. I'm going to write mine down right now. If anybody in chat or anybody that's listening to this wants to guess as well, go ahead and make your guess. Let's see.
When exactly is it's next Thursday, right?
It's going to be next Thursday, yeah.
Okay, so it's one day off.
All right, I have mine. Do you have yours?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll reveal on 3. 1, 2, 3. These are going to be backwards again. I have 438,000.
I have 1.2 million.
1.2 million? Yeah. I think you're going to be high.
Oh, never.
Yeah, because you totally haven't been way high on your last two.
At some point, I'm going to be right with these.
The law of averages, I mean, says you have to, right? All right, we'll check on those next week when we do our podcast. I'm going to update my score now because that means I have 2. Akko has 0.
I'll come for you.
Still plenty of
you
time.
wait.
I think we're going to do this through the end of the year, and then I don't know what we're going to do. Whoever wins, we'll just, I don't know, make a crown or
I'm
something.
just thinking positive about all these things. It's not my fault that Marvel has like a failing game now, and that Wasteland is completely uninteresting to all the people on Twitch. Like that's
we didn't talk at all about Avengers today. But I mean, it did release today. I think it actually released a couple of days ago. I don't know. It was very confusing because I think if you bought like the Ultimate Edition or something, you got to play it early. But it is interesting that it seems like people are maybe a little bit more into that game than people were initially thinking they might be. It seems like the actual single player portion of it might be more enjoyable than people were thinking. So that's good. I don't know. It's bizarre to me because I feel like that game should just be massive. I mean, you have the Avengers, and you're making a giant Square Enix budget game out of this, and I feel like people are just like, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, it should be at least like 2,000 retweets.
At least more like 7,537 retweets.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on and wrap up the day with our games of the generation discussion. Akko and I were talking about this a little bit before the podcast. We're getting down to it. We only have a few games left to talk about, and all of these games are games that have kind of been submitted to us. So I think what we're going to do is just kind of just read off the rest that we have, and then if we have anything that we want to say, we can just kind of throw these out. But we're pretty much finished, I think, with our list, at least that we have thought of. But I'm sure that we have missed some games. I'm sure that we have left some games out. So please do let us know. Once again, if you're new or if you're wondering what we're doing, we are trying to build a list of what we are calling games of the generation. So from 2013 to 2020, we are just trying to build a list of all of the games that we feel are influential, made an impact somehow on this generation. So I'm going to read through the ones that we have already put in there. We have Dark Souls 3, The Witcher 3, Watch Dogs 1, Fortnite, Rocket League, Persona 5, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, PT, Bloodborne, Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Man for PS4, Hollow Knight, God of War, Sekiro, Yakuza 0, Divinity Original Sin 2, Disco Elysium, and Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And the ones that we have left to add here, we have again, these were ones that were submitted. I don't suppose if, well, I was going to say, if you have any of these that anybody wrote anything about, feel free to let me know. I don't know if we have any additional things to add to these, but we have Neo, Outer Wilds, Near Automata, or Automata. I never have known how to say that. I feel like there's
Automata.
Yeah, there's 3 different ways to say it. Final Fantasy 14 and Stardew Valley are the ones that we are going to wrap up our discussion with. Any of those that stand out that you want to talk about?
I mean, from those, I only played Neo and Stardew Valley. I heard extremely good things about Nier Automata. And I also heard that Final Fantasy XIV, after a disastrous start, then really became really good. So I'm sure they are fantastic. But in terms of Stardew Valley, I think I played the most of the games from, and I really like Stardew Valley. It's a fun game. It's another small developer creation that really took over and kind of became this instant classic hit almost. Like everyone played Stardew Valley for at least a little bit and checked it out, and it's like this cute little town, and the obviously lots of farming and everything, but then like the characters that you met there were very intriguing, and you had these storylines going on. So I think just certainly one of the biggest indie hits of the generation, without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, with Neo, I mean, I imagine people put that on there because at the time that Neo came out, there were not a lot of kind of Souls likes out there. There were definitely a few, but I feel like that was definitely one of the first ones to come out that kind of tried to do something a little bit different with the genre, in that it made it a little bit more like a Diablo type Souls like, with the random loot and everything like that. Outer Wilds, I can definitely see why people are putting the Outer Wilds on there. That definitely did do some really interesting things. The fact that it was made by such a small team, just the way the development of that game is really interesting in what they did with that game.
I did play it as well. I forgot about it, but yeah,
that says something.
I mean,
you played it and forgot about it.
I mean, I played it recently.
Yeah.
It's just like we talked about it on
Was
the
it
podcast.
for you?
It just, yeah, it wasn't for me.
Near Automata, I played, but I didn't finish. I gotta be honest, I don't know why people like that game. I thought it was okay, but it didn't really do anything that special to me. I don't know. I didn't really get that game. I think people just liked it because it had a sexy robot girl. Final Fantasy 14. I
Didn't
definitely
it have like an achievement that called you a perv when you like looked under her skirt?
I think it literally has an achievement for. There's like a way that you can self-destruct, and it like blows her skirt off or something like that. And I think that there's an achievement for doing that. And you can like play the game in just her underwear. Final Fantasy 14. Final Fantasy 14, I like you said, I can definitely understand, because that game started out so rough and they did so much work and completely reworked that game. And then Stardew Valley, I think you wrapped it up nicely with that. So yeah, please let us know if you have any games that you would like to add to this list. I'm sure that we left some stuff out, and we will add it in there. I think it's been fun to kind of put together this list.
For sure, yeah. And like you said, I'm sure there are plenty of games that we haven't thought about, or that are just not down in our genre that we usually cover, but are big, massive, impactful games in other genres that we just don't play or are not as fond of. So if you have anything out there, let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to do it for our show today. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Akko, for being here. I'm glad you're feeling better. I hope you continue to recover and don't ever get sick for the rest of your life.
All right.
We do the show every Friday at 2 p.m. Central Time. You can watch live on twitch.tv/HAL451. Akko, what's coming up for you on your YouTube channel?
I continue with Wasteland 3 daily on YouTube. Call of Duty World War II will continue until that's done. And also some Crusader Kings 3 until I'm tired of it. So all of these daily at the moment, as far as I can record, and we'll see how that continues. But at the very least, Wasteland 3 will continue for a while. With Call of Duty World War II, it's not that long of a game, so we'll get through that as well. And Crusader Kings is a very short and crispy game as well, so I'm sure I will finish it.
World domination.
World domination.
All right, guys. Thank you again so much for everyone being here. We will see you guys next week. And until then, I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I'm not going to stop his streaming. I was gonna just hang around for just a few minutes. Akko, don't have to hang around if you don't want to, but just wanted to thank everyone in
Okay,
chat.
fine.
Yep, Akko's gone. See ya. Um,
I get paid by the hour here, okay?
yeah. But no, I was just gonna say hello, everyone. I always feel bad, like when we do these, that I feel like I'm ignoring everyone in chat. But I really do appreciate everyone being here. Hope you guys are doing well.
Yeah, and thank you for contributing in chat. It's just sometimes hard to pick those things up in a conversation flow and keep things going. So that's why we sometimes jump over some things or miss some things.
We really just ignore everyone. We don't really care.
We're just above that, above the peasantry.
So what's everyone doing this weekend? You got any plans, Akko?
Just recover, get back to 100%, so I can get back to work next week. And yeah, we'll probably play a bunch of Crusader Kings.
Yeah. What's everyone in chat doing? Are you guys gonna play anything?
What are your plans?
My mom's birthday was earlier this week, and so she's coming over, and we're going to. I'm gonna grill some chicken and some corn and some other stuff on the grill. Just have a nice little meal and just hang out here for a little bit. But other than that, not much.
You have
Just
like a
play some
special
games.
marinade or something?
I think we're just gonna do some barbecue, just some barbecue sauce.
Nice, sounds good. It's gotten way too fall-y, really. It became very overcast and kind of chilly over the last couple of weeks, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
We
nice, isn't it?
yeah, we went from full summer to fall in a couple of days.
Possum says she's going to go for a walk in botanical gardens. Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, that's nice.
Is that far away, Possum? Other than that, you'll be playing more Aquatic and Kiwami 2. Nice. Vermont's going to be playing some more Fallout 3.
Fallout 3 has Famal played that before?
No, I don't think she has. I think this is her first Fallout.
Well, interesting to hear what the fallout of that will be.
Botanical garden is in the city and it's super beautiful. Oh, that sounds nice. Big place with a coffee shop, so you know where we always end up.
It sounds nice though, grabbing a nice cup of coffee, hanging out in a nice botanical garden. Like we have here the old residential gardens of the former king, and it's very beautiful, especially in the summer, and obviously lots of tourists there as well. So that's a place where, and then around that is a less, it's a normal park area, but especially in the summer, it's just crowded with people just hanging out and like having picnics or just playing volleyball or soccer on the grass and or having barbecues and all of that.
That sounds cool.
First Fallout. Tried a couple of times. Okay.
Have you played the Fallout games?
Yeah, I played Fallout 3 and 4 and New Vegas as well.
New Vegas.
Yeah. I never finished New Vegas, and Fallout 3 I accidentally finished too quickly. I didn't know that you then can't explore after the ending. So I finished the game and was then mad that there was so much undiscovered by me. So that
I didn't remember that.
A little bit. Yeah, no, it was then end credit and then the game is over. So then I never really got to explore that too deeply because of that. I played a bunch of New Vegas, but there I never got to the end because I was scared that I couldn't explore. And then in Fallout 4, I did actually end, went through the main quest and did a bunch of exploring.
How did they do the DLCs in Fallout 3 though? Because like if
I
you
don't know.
finish the game, those DLCs took place like in the middle of the games, didn't they?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't remember how they did
But
that.
I'm not. I don't know. I don't think I played the DLCs.
Fallout 4, you can just go on forever. Yeah. Fallout 3 had some of my favorite DLCs. I think that was the one that had the Alien DLC, where you get to explore like a crashed alien ship.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great game. I was just like, I don't know. I finished it after 20 hours or so, which
You can
obviously
get
for
through
a
it really
Fallout game
fast.
is nothing, but it's also too much to just like do the things again. So
Right.
yeah, it
Mothership
was good.
Zeta, that's it. Yep.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mothership Zeta, that was really fun.
Well, yeah, I'm very excited to hear what you think when you get around playing Wasteland 3. I'm sure you will love it. From
I
what I hear, you
I'm
like the
really
games
tempted.
you.
I might boot it up this weekend and try it out. Which is probably not a good idea, but I really, really want to play it. Fallout 4, the aliens are just a small wink with a tiny mission. Oh yeah, isn't there like an Easter egg in Fallout 3 where you find like a crashed ship or something like that? Or Fallout 4? That's really cool. That
There's
reminds
so
me.
many Easter eggs. For a while, I went into a YouTube rabbit hole of just Easter eggs and secrets and like tiny side stories within the Fallout games, which was like 5 to 10 minutes about like a side mission and like what like the story about that is. So it was interesting.
It would be an interesting. That would be a good question. Like, what is your favorite Easter egg in a video game? There's a really cool Easter egg in GTA 5 where it's like a whole No Country for Old Men kind of storyline where
Okay.
you find like an abandoned truck. I don't know if you've seen this movie, No Country for Old Men.
Mhm.
You find a truck that's abandoned and it has like cocaine in it, and then you have to do something. I can't remember the order of events, but something happens to where there's an actual guy that looks like the bad guy in that movie, and he starts
Mm.
stalking you like throughout the game,
Oh
just like
wow,
they do in No Country for Old Men. It's very bizarre.
that's crazy. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, The Witcher 3 had a bunch of Easter eggs and references as well. Like that is also like what's an Easter egg and what's a reference.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the Witcher 3 quests are like, especially in the Blood and Wine DLC, there were a lot of nods to traditional fables and fairy
Yeah.
tales.
And there's that one that's really funny about poking fun at DLC.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
you find the guy and his initials are DLC.
yeah, and it's money shoved down the
Yeah.
throat. Yeah.
Oh, Witcher 3 is so good.
It's fantastic.
That would be a good question for the next podcast. I'd like to know other
Yeah.
people's answers as well. Well, let's see. I think we could wrap it up here. You got anything else you want to chat about?
No, I don't have anything.
So many people say to. Have you not played Witcher 3, Possum? Or have you played any of the Witcher games? Not played any
Any
Witchers?
Witchers? Out of here.
I know. I thought that was just like a requirement to graduate school in Poland was to just play The Witcher. It's definitely a commitment. It's not like a short game just to
Yeah,
jump in.
no. Or a short series. Like all of the games are a time investment. Like the first two not as long, but still, like
I
put
don't
in a
know.
good
Witcher
amount.
1 is. I mean, they're both really, really long.
Yeah.
Witcher 3,
I
like
mean,
you
two is
can.
not as long, but it's cut in two parts that
Yeah.
are very, very individual. So you kind of have to play both parts, and then it is very long again.
My apologies. The requirement is to read The Witcher.
Can very much recommend that. Have you read the books?
I haven't. No, I've
Oh,
always
very good.
been kind of reluctant because I know that the books are very different from the games, and I've always been kind of afraid that like the books would kind of ruin my view of some of the things in the game.
I never
Because
felt that way because the what the games do really well is it's not really directly contradicting the books too much. Like it definitely is its own thing, but the games also play off a lot of things that happen in the books. So it's kind of like a mix between like a post book world and like some timeline things that couldn't have happened or so.
yeah,
But they did it really well. So it the games feel like an homage to the books telling their own story.
the biggest thing that I was afraid of is so many people say that Triss was completely different how she was portrayed in the books. And
Yeah,
I loved Triss so much in Witcher 1 and 2.
Medal of Honor
Um,
guy, right?
exactly. And everyone said that like Triss was just a terrible, awful person in the books. So
Well, for one, she doesn't have as big of a part
as
in
big of
them
a
as
role.
well. Like, yeah, like the, it kind of depends how many books there are, depending on like how they are released, because sometimes some are split up in English, I think. But she's really just part like a bigger part in one of the books, one of the novels. And then you I think there are two like short story books, then you have three of and I think four novels, and she's really just a big part in one of the books.
Gotcha.
So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, Possum says that it's just that fantasy games are not really my thing. Sci-fi or post-apocalyptic, yes, but not really fantasy. I'm usually the same way. I mean, I enjoy fantasy, but I much prefer science fiction over fantasy. Um, but The Witcher, particularly The Witcher 1, I don't know why. I think a lot of this just goes back to like the time that I played it. It's very much a nostalgia thing. I just had never really experienced anything like that. Um, I
The Witcher
also,
one is the closest to the books as well.
well, I will
So
also
if
say
you yeah
that I think The Witcher is much more of like a dark fantasy versus something like World of Warcraft or like Lord of the Rings or something like that. That's more like a
yeah
high fantasy, and I much prefer the dark fantasy that deals much more with like intrigue and deception and like the political side of things and that kind of
yeah
stuff.
I always said about the books that they, to me, felt like a mix between they have like the way the stories are told and the way the world is presented feels on first glance very fairy tale esque, like
Yeah,
Tolkien tells their stories. But then it has the realism of a Game of Thrones in it, with all the dark fantasy in it, which makes it for me a very interesting mix to read it, because like on first glance it all reads so fantastical, and but then it's very realistic and it's very gritty and dark and actuality.
yeah, yeah. That's exactly why I liked Game of Thrones so much up until they ruined it with season 8.
I mean, it started before that, the ruining.
Yeah, season
It was
6 and 7 were
yeah,
not great either.
yeah. It really started in season 6 to go downhill. Like 5 was like, I think the peak was really season 2 and 3. Like they were absolutely fantastic. 4 was really good still, like maybe like a slight decline, but if any. And then 5 was still very good, to a point where you didn't have to be worried about anything
Yeah,
quality wise. But then in 6 you started to see some things kind of fall apart. And then 7 I didn't like already, and then I went into season 8 with very low expectation, because I was like, I can't see any way how they will wrap it up in a satisfying way. and then I was still disappointed and
It
mad.
is just bizarre to me how they could
It
mess it
is
up
so bad.
so bad.
And it's so obvious to tell when they ran out of source material for the books. That is the craziest thing. That was like it is almost like a complete cut in the show where all of a sudden when they didn't have any guidance on anymore, it went from like a 9 out of 10 down to like a 4 out of 10
I
in
don't
like a
I
couple
don't
of
think it's
episodes.
even, I mean, that is definitely a lot of it.
Yeah.
But it just is so clear to me that like they needed more time to tell the story that they had, but those stupid directors just wanted to just move on to something else, and they just rushed everything and just came up with just this super, cheesy, or not cheesy, but just, I don't know,
It
just
was cheesy. Yeah, it was a lot of cheesy because I think it is like they got then also the end points from George R. R. Martin. So I think
yeah.
like the books, if he ever continues to write them, who knows? But I think in the end they will end at similar points, which I'm
Yeah.
okay with. The
I'm
issue was really not where we ended up. It was
how
that
we
the
got
path
there.
all of there. Yeah, it was like, oh, we go from 1 2 3 -5 +100 -10, and then we're there. And it's like,
I
what?
honestly
How?
don't hate the ending. Like I don't
The
know
ending itself
if,
is not the issue.
yeah, it's not, it's maybe not like the best outcome that I can think of. But like I was okay with the way that things actually ended, but just the way that they got there and just how they
Yeah.
skipped so much stuff and just like threw away so many plots and just left so many plot holes open,
And it
and
felt so
how
heavy handed in the end,
yeah,
everything.
and how so much stuff just literally did not even matter in the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and was completely ignored. And like everything that they then told us felt very much in the face. Like, do you get it? Do you get it? So
yeah.
yeah, I get it. Because like they had because they had to make everything so obvious to wrap it up in like what probably would have been like 6 more seasons or so in 1.5 seasons.
I think they should have gone to 10 seasons at 10
Yeah,
episodes each.
and I think that was like the original goal, or at least like uh, goal post where they were like, probably we need 10 seasons, but then they were like, we don't want anymore.
And it's just so weird how you go from like the earlier seasons, like they would take so long, it felt like, to get from one plot point to the other, but
Yeah,
it didn't feel like it was dragging or anything. Like every episode was just super interesting, and like that was what made it so interesting is because like when Brienne is taking Jamie to uh wherever she's taking him. I can't even remember. But
King's Landing. Oh no, to uh, yeah, no, she is supposed to bring him back to King's Landing because like Catelyn busts him out of the cage and like or no,
I can't remember. Who is in King's Landing at that time? Who's ruling at that time?
at that point it's Joffrey.
Yeah, so she wouldn't take him back to King's
Oh
Landing.
no, here's the thing. No, it is because Catelyn told Brienne to take him to Cersei in exchange
Oh, for the
for
girls.
yeah,
That's
for the
right.
girl.
But anyway,
Then
my whole point was going to be that when they were doing that, like that is, most TV shows would have like maybe an episode or two of them traveling, but like that whole season was them traveling, but it was so well done, and like you really started to understand Jamie's reasoning for things and his
yeah, and
character, and Brienne's as well. And then like season 7, they just like rush through things so
they
fast and just skip over
teleport back and
things.
forth, and that is also one of the issues because they broke their own rules. Like they
Yeah,
established in the first 5 seasons that traveling times matter. That was an essential
exactly.
point of the story, and in the end they just teleport back and forth, and people were like, oh, well, that does matter in other shows. No, but there it never
That
matters.
was one of the
Whereas
things that
here,
separated Game of Thrones from so many other shows.
exactly, and it was also like the slow nature of telling the story. It felt very rewarding because if you paid attention, you could foresee certain things
Yeah.
happening. You could tell what's supposed to happen. When you then rewatch it, you see, oh, that was foreshadowed like two
Yeah.
seasons ago, because it was talked about, it was shown in the background. There were things there. It felt rewarding to pay attention, whereas later it didn't matter. It was just surprising for the surprise effect with no substance behind it.
Possum, I read the first book. I read the first book of Game of Thrones, and I actually read it like while I was watching the show, and I was enjoying the show so much that I was like, I don't really want to spoil myself on the show, so I decided to wait. And if we ever get all of those books, I'm going to read through them. But I'm a little worried about that.
I doubt it. At this point. Like for 10 years, every fall is it supposed to be released. So I don't think it will ever happen.
He says that he's coming along just perfectly fine with.
He says that every year.
I know. He still has 2 left, right? He has to finish this one, and then he has a whole nother one after that, right?
Yeah. That's the plan. Yeah.
I have a really bad feeling about that.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, the book is really good. I mean, the one that I read, and I'm looking forward to all of the other ones. Hey, Chaos. Never read or watched the movies of Game of Thrones. It's such a weird thing because I don't know if I could recommend somebody to watch Game of Thrones. Could you?
That is really what bothers me about it so much, because for so long it was really up there with my favorite TV shows of all time, and it was like, yeah, it's must see because yes, on first glance it's fantasy and dragons, but it really was more of a political thriller than anything else, because that was it really about. It was about the political intrigue between all the rulers. It was Crusader Kings 3 as a show, and and not about like there were obviously the fantastical aspects, but it was really about the characters. So I always was like recommending it very wholeheartedly, but now it's like, since the payoff is not there and the ending is so disappointing, how can I recommend someone to watch something of 8 seasons and be like, yeah, the first 5 are good, but then everything will be very disappointing and very dissatisfying, and you won't like the ending, and everything you hope that would be cleared will not be cleared, and the things that will be cleared, they won't make sense, and and that's my recommendation for you. Have fun.
I think that it is still worth watching. Just you have to like prepare somebody to be like, hey, this is, it's got a really just bland ending.
Enjoy the good times while they're there.
Yeah, but I mean, like seasons 1 through 4 are just some of the greatest television of all time. And the way they do things and the way they set up things is just.
I remember talking to friends of mine. We always gathered around on Mondays to watch the new episode together, and then we had like an hour-long discussion after the episode about what happened and like what could happen. It was awesome. Like that, it was the whole social event. And then during season 6, it was like it became very much apparent that, like, what are we doing here?
Like, I know. I used to.
There's no point in discussing things anymore.
I used to watch the episode, and I would watch the episode, and then there were always these like after shows that they would do on YouTube, and there would be all these people that would be talking about like everything that would happen, and then predicting like everything that would happen, and then before the next episode, like an hour before the next episode, I would literally watch the previous episode because I always feel like you miss stuff. And so I would always watch the previous episode again before. And I enjoyed that so much up until those last couple of seasons. And I was like, man, what is happening?
I actually had a feeling like the characters, like in their own mind, they always made sense. They weren't perfect characters, but from their perspective, it made sense how they acted, and they were consistent in how they acted, so you could predict what they could do or would not do. And that all fell apart in the end, and we talked about then during season 6, well, Probably it will not be a great ending, but at least it won't be a lost. Well, now in retrospect, it was lost all over again. It was a fantastic start, and then in the end, you're just sitting there and like, I can't recommend that to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of bizarre to me. Season 6 had Battle of the Bastards, wasn't it? Or was that season 5?
There were still some. No, it was season 6. There were still some good episodes, like singled out. There was also one or two. Like, I think there was really just one in season 7 that I actually liked, and then in season 6 there was a couple of really good episodes, and I think that Battle of the Bastards certainly was one of them, and that it was one of the best episodes. I think just in general, that was excellent in my opinion, but it just as a whole didn't work anymore.
Um yeah, what I was going to say is I enjoyed season 6 quite a bit, and I enjoyed the build up and the overall thing with the Battle of the Bastards, but there's still some things that, the way that happened. I don't want to say too much because I know there's some stuff in some
Yeah,
people in chat that haven't seen it, and maybe they want to watch it. um, I do think it is worth watching, but yeah, there's some stuff that happens. How can I say this without spoiling it? So I don't know how you remember this, but there's a prisoner in Battle of the Bastards that is let go, and it really bothered me, like how that was
yeah,
done. That
yeah.
that one part, it felt very Hollywood. Lots of plot armor was going on there.
There was a lot of that in the later episodes, where a lot of plot armor that was also in, that was some of the things in season 7, especially where you then had in 7 and 8, but where the Field of Fire episode, if you remember,
Yeah,
um, there was also like, yeah, it looked like at first watching, I was, oh yeah, there was a cool action episode, but then it's like it didn't really fit in with the rest of the show, how the world is um established, because like you had characters, like main characters literally dying. I'm not saying any who that is or how or whatever, but you had main characters that you thought were major players dying of infection, because that's how the world is set up, because they
yeah.
did something stupid, and later everyone is just like uh running around like they're Arnold Schwarzenegger and Predator.
It still makes me so mad and so sad that we didn't get a Clegane Bowl. I wanted that so bad.
I watched that episode with my best friend, and oh, I laughed out loud because it was so ridiculously bad. I laughed out loud. I was like, that can't be it. That can't. Uh, so
I mean, it was so
oh, there
apparent
was
that
so
we
many.
weren't going to get what we wanted, though. Like,
No, no.
when we realized that we were only getting 6 episodes of season 8 or whatever.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, that's how I went in. Like, this won't be great, but maybe at least like we get a couple of like nice action episodes. But then one of the main episodes is then you can't see shit because everything is just dark. Like, there's not like where you can't
Yeah,
even see action because there's nothing to see on the screen.
I actually, I actually liked that battle. I liked, I liked that episode for the most part. I was even okay with like how it ended up, but I guess the problem is like I just don't know what you could have or would have done with the White Walkers. Um, and I think that's kind of a problem that I hope that George R. R. Martin will do something better with, but I really don't know. Like
Well,
it's
I
either
think
one
the
way or
issue
the
is that,
other that's going to happen.
yeah, yeah, I just feel like it's again like we're missing like a huge chunk until to that resolution. I think
Yeah,
the resolution probably might be the same, but we don't like. I think there's this whole we're missing the entire build up to that revolution. Why a resolution? Why that person is the person doing a thing? Why it's happening the way it is happening? Why we're doing this and that? Why it's not? I think we would all get that in a book if it ever appears, and then we would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense why it had to happen this certain way. But since that is all gone, it's just like starting a movie, then fast forwarding to 40 minutes later, and then seeing the
Yeah.
end and be like, oh, that's so weird. I could have never guessed that.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I think it makes me so mad because I liked the show so much and I
Yeah.
was so passionate about it. And I thought it was so different and made like just it made things different in a fantastic way. And then in the end, you just don't find shows that are able to do it, to put it all the way through, except for one show. That's
Breaking Bad.
no, not even Breaking Bad. I was never a big Breaking Bad.
Oh man.
I thought it was fine. I thought that was too, like, even for me, too slow. Like,
No, Breaking Bad was perfect.
At least in the beginning. I never really got into it. But yeah, for me, best show ever, BoJack Horseman. 6 episode of constant high quality.
Firefly ended in a movie though. Didn't they make a movie with Firefly?
Yeah, it's just one season in a movie. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't count. Like there are a lot of shows that have one good season, or even 2, or even 3, but not many who really start strong and bring it on also home.
Yeah, I'm really glad that they made a movie for Firefly too, because it seemed like it wrapped up things for people that really wanted an ending to that.
Yeah.
That movie was a dream that didn't happen. Did you not like it, Alpha? All right, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up here.
Yep.
I think this is fun to just have a little after show talking though. Nice to chat with you guys. But yeah, Akko, I will catch you next time. And thank you for doing this as always. Hope you feel better. Hope you have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, as always.
Absolutely. Bye, guys. Have a wonderful day. See you guys later.